There we go. Is it picking me up now? There we go. Okay, cool, it's picking me up. Hi, everybody! I'm terraforming on a different world today. Get a change of scenery going on. I just really like terraforming. This is the big world that I've talked about terraforming on. That I kind of gave up, but I'm back at it again. I'm back in this fucking building again. Nah. Ooh, scooped. I just kind of wanted to come back on this world because I had given myself the goal of flattening this entire area that you see as stone right now. I gave myself that goal a while ago, and I would like to complete that goal, if possible. And I know it sounds insane, but I just want to flatten it down just to flatten it down. The other world I just want to have a farmland on. But this one I'm just like, flat. And the reason I stopped playing on this world is because one time my game crashed, and you guys know how I tend to do shulker boxes if I get too much inventory of a certain type of block. I lost so many of those shulker boxes. It's an insane amount of those shulker boxes got lost in a game crash. And it was kind of upsetting, I'll admit. And I was like, screw this, I'm not playing on the save anymore. I was just upset. But recently I decided I wanted to come back to the save. I firstly came back onto it because Nate had let me know that there was fog in the game now, and I was like, what? You could see the fog easier because the render distance, but I guess there's fog on the other trees too that I just didn't notice, like a lighter level of fog that my eyes don't pick up on. That's okay. Not everyone's eyes are gonna work the same. But yeah. Excuse me. I took Bubby on a walk this morning. I've started taking him on walks since coming back from my last ceremony. And I had originally wanted to take some days off after, but the call to play Minecraft came. The ceremony I went to was ayahuasca, and she was very kind to me, and I was thankful for that. And she basically helped me see things in a different light. You know, like not having to be 100% okay with certain things that happen, but just to be able to cope with them better. So that was very cool and very nice. And she kind of gave me a plan going forward of like, well, if I am gonna stream, I might as well walk Bubby in the beginning of the day to get my body more active than I had previously been. So I've been taking her advice, and Bubby seems to like it. We've ran into my neighbors like each time since, And there was a point where I wasn't too fond of them because they had broken into our house because our landlord gave them a key for some reason. But since taking Bubby on a walk every day, you know, I've actually properly interacted with them, and they seem like nice people. This isn't to say that I'm going to change my values to be theirs, because I don't want to be breaking into people's houses. But it's more to say of, like, you know, you never really know someone until you properly get to meet them on your own terms, kind of thing. And, what else? So, my brain used to be fractured into multiple parts, and ayahuasca helped explain that that was because for the first 9 years of my life, I was basically just getting trauma after trauma after trauma, and I was like, dang, okay. And what that does to a child's psyche is it can cause fracturing to happen. And I'm sure many people are going to be like, oh, well, that sounds like this disorder, this sounds like that disorder. Without knowing why that trauma happened. So to just explain to you guys, in my stream where I had just been typing on a notepad on the top of the screen, I kind of got into, dang it, I kind of got into explaining the whole idea of fetal possession, and I want to explain that a little more in detail now because that isn't affecting me anymore, because ayahuasca was nice enough to get rid of that completely, but it's still something that I feel needs to be educated in the world. Like, I basically found out through ayahuasca that that's my life purpose, is to come and educate people about this issue, and the only way that someone can properly educate is by going through it themselves. So, the whole thing about fetal possession is that, say you're a fetus, right? And your mother goes through something that is a traumatic accident. Not bad enough to end your life, but bad enough to shake you up. You know, like you're startled, you're scared, you kind of start to question whether or not safety is a guaranteed thing in life, even though it definitely should be. And for me, that incident was my mom slipping and falling on some ice during winter time, and no one was around to check on her right away. And so that time frame allowed for doubt to set in, and when doubt set in, hold on, I'm gonna turn the music down so you guys can hear me more. When doubt set in, it leaves the doorway open for negative spiritual entities, because every single thing that happens, every interaction, literally everything, there's consequences to every action, and there's consequences spiritually too. And so, when a fetus is kind of left to be in that state of like, oh, is safety even guaranteed? Is everything okay? Is this, that, the other? Basically just a state of doubt that leaves room for something negative to come in and start terrorizing this fetus, right? And so then it becomes a whole battle thing, because the thing is, negative entities, they want to have a chance to experience the human experience. even though that's not necessarily their purpose, they just want it. Um, so they kind of get to be this whole thing of wanting to take that away from a child. And that's where the whole idea of like, oh, that kid's possessed comes from. It's like they probably are, due to a trauma that they couldn't stop from happening. Um, and the there were many times when I was a child that I was possessed, even into teenage years. And as I got to be older, I started fighting it because I was like, okay, I need to be fully consciously aware of my actions at all times. And the idea of something else taking over my life was just, it was not the vibe, to put it simply. Um, and since then, I had been fighting and fighting and more fighting, just spiritually warfare. Um, and a lot of dark entities hate me. They hate me because they ain't me. Um, and I've come to accept that fact. My soul's been around for quite a while. I've been around since the Great Flood. I've been around since the days of Yeshua ben Hur. If anyone knows anything about spiritual stuff, you would know who that is. Um, I've just been around for a while, so being able to not only defeat this form of spiritual warfare the enemy uses, but to go on to educate is something that I've realized is my purpose in coming to this life. And when I had my near-death experience, I wanted to come back not only to keep people safe, but there's a certain safety in knowing these types of tactics that the enemy uses, because if the enemy thinks that he's being slicked by trying to shut up everyone who knows about this, well, I'm here. Sure, I'm not famous, but I'm here. At the end of the day, I made it. I survive. And that's more than a lot of people who get stuck with this can say. Um, Essentially, the fetal possession tries to convince the kid to end their own life, and it's very unfortunate when that happens because that could have that kid could have gone on to go help others that are in the same boat. And I'm not saying that that's all cases. There are definitely cases where it's just the kid is in a shitty situation. I understand that can happen. I'm just saying that um, there are also just some cases where something else is trying to take that kid's ability to live their own life away from them. And no one really notices, and not enough people care, because there's not enough education on the whole spiritual side of things. Like, anytime anyone talks about anything spiritual, it's like, oh, so you're religious? Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be about religion. It could just simply be about the sake of wanting others to be educated in a subject. It doesn't have to be, oh, my religion's better than yours. It could just be, you know, we might not believe all the same things, but we can still learn from each other. There's it's like the whole idea that there are truths in every story, you know? So because of the fact that there's truths in every story, that means that no matter what anyone says, there's some truth in their words. even if they're telling the biggest lie you've ever heard, there's some truth behind it because they had to have heard it somewhere. You know? Every story, every bit of truth, it all comes from somewhere. Not many people are ready to realize that. Because a lot of people suffer with black and white thinking. And black and white thinking is basically the whole notion of this is right and this is wrong. When morality is a bit more of a spectrum than that. It's this wide array of different things to do with free will and justice and all sorts. But so many people love the idea of right and wrong that they lose track of that, so to say. Um, shoot. But yeah, a lot of people, they like the simplicity that comes with um, moral black and whiteness. And that's not to say that it's bad or anything, it's just to say that, um, you know, the reason that a lot of people say that morality is a grayscale is because it's a lot better to look at it that way than it is to look at it as simply black and white. Um, I need some more water. Hydration break. But yeah. What else to talk about? My ayahuasca trip was very pleasant. She was very nice to me. Um, the she basically explained that not only was my mind and consciousness fractured into different pieces, but also the fetal possession made it very difficult to know um, if it was actually me or if it was something else. Like if it was a part of me or if it was something else. Which I had already kind of felt um, throughout my life, of just this unknowing whether or not um, I was me or if I was someone else. And um, there's this one song where it's like, don't want someone else waking up in my life instead, kind of. I don't remember the entire song or what it's called, but I felt very reminiscent towards that song growing up. And she helped give me the courage to tell these negative entities to leave me alone so I could start to live my own life, kind of thing. So that's also very nice. Um, you know, I just highly recommend going to her if you ever are feeling upset over anything or unsure over anything. Um, she was very kind to me, and I'm still so thankful for that. Um, you know, when you're used to, like, she helped explain this to me, but I kind of had guessed this by this point, where it's like when you're used to pain and suffering, then you kind of expect something bad to happen. But when you start to be open to healing, you're open to the good part of life. And that's always very nice. You know, since I came back, I've been smiling more, and excuse me. Since I came back, I've been smiling more, and it's nice to finally feel like my smile is real, and my smile is mine. You know. And, you know, it also helps explain why therapy wasn't the best option for me. Because, you know, if there's something secretly in my head that's like making me feel awful anyways, then no amount of therapy or medication is gonna change that kind of thing. But now that that's gone, I'm considering actually going. I haven't made any phone calls yet, because I'm a little nervous, but I guess it's more of an excited nervous to be able to see how that goes. Which, crazily enough, is something that Nate's made it so one of his characters suffers with, and I'm like, bro, why is your OC so relatable? He's not here at the moment. He has very important, like, phone calls to be making. Um, but it's like, bro, why is your OC so relatable? I've tried hard not to relate to his OC too much because when you start relating to a certain type of energy, you kind of almost take it on. And no offense to this OC, but Nate made a storyline, so he's completely traumatized, and I'm like, yep, that's me. I'm just here like, yep, that I fit that ticket. So what else to talk about, huh? Ayahuasca basically showed me some memories that I wasn't consciously aware of having. Which is why I'm considering going to therapy. Because some of these memories are the kind of things that YouTube TOS wouldn't approve of me saying. To put it simply. I'm not as, like, upset over them because, like, putting energy towards being upset means putting energy towards the whole memory of what happened, and I don't need to be giving certain individuals that energy, you know? I don't need to be letting